I want to find where you bitch. Got me sitting, going into the asking if you good.
Bitch,
You been staring at me
with your fake ass eyelashes.
I don't give a fuck. I don't
Get
give
out
a
of
fuck,
my face, you fucking.
I'm Antoine Michael, and this is The Breakdown. Many of you have probably seen this video. It is making its rounds, and if you have not seen it, I will let you take a wild guess as to what word is freely falling out of her mouth. Listen, let's just go ahead and put it on the table. This is exactly why we as Black folk have difficulty in organizing in social movement spaces, as well as forming meaningful relationships across differing racial and ethnic identities. This is particularly why, because this type of thing to her is okay. That she is doing all of this because somewhere in the back of her mind, she is convinced that they will let her in the yacht club, the polo club, and the country club. But baby, you will always remain on the outside of the club trying to get in. That somehow she forgot about that moment when Usher Vance walked onto the stage at the RNC as J.D. Vance's wife, and all of MAGA and all of the ultra-right looked at her and said, oh my goodness, she forgot about that moment. I read some comment that said, oh, you know, she didn't mean it. She was high. Listen, I don't care. She could be Delta Airlines. She could be the Blue Origin rocket for all I care, going up for 11 minutes and coming back down. I have always been taught that an inebriated body speaks a sober mind, speaks a sober truth, that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Listen, there is a reason why that Malcolm X taught us in the 60s that anytime you are below the Canadian border, you are South. It's not that he was trying to excuse what was taking place in Canada in the particular and specific ways in which race, racism, and ethnicity play out in Canada, because they do have their issues. But what Malcolm X was trying to point to about the United States is that the South is not just a geographic location, but that the South is a constitutive logic for the United States. In other words, you could be in Florida, California, Washington, Arkansas, New Hampshire, New York, Maine, Oklahoma, you name it. You could be anywhere in this country, and race, racism, and ethnicity will play out in the same way in stratifying society because of how we have positioned race to inform our hierarchy within this nation, that it is deeply embedded into our history. And this comes to matter in the lives of people who are non-white and non-black, who are born within the United States, but also who immigrate to the United States because they understand themselves within that hierarchy. They understand that, hey, we are not black, but you know, we understand ourselves in proximity to whiteness, so therefore we can do these particular kinds of things. And one of the reasons that Black folks are tired, right, and are refusing to get into your streets is because this is historical. This is not something new. This is not something that comes about in the new millennium. This is something that is historical. In 1922, Ozawa versus the United States, a man of Japanese heritage comes before the Supreme Court and says, hey, I am not black, therefore I am not white. Here is the case right here on the screen. And what he says specifically, and trying to get naturalized, he says, quote, free white persons means one who is not black, not a Negro, which does not exclude Japanese people. He then goes on to say, quote, free white persons included all who were not black. The latter were chiefly slaves, regarded as an inferior race. In other words, what Ozawa was saying was that, hey, because my people weren't enslaved, I'm not inferior, I'm not them, therefore I am white, and I deserve citizenship in this nation. And the Supreme Court say, right? Here's the lesson right here. The Supreme Court says, not quite. You're right. You are not black, but you show as hell are not white. And so therefore you will not get citizenship in this particular nation. So even as we are navigating this moment as a nation in confronting these moments, right, with race, ethnicity, deportation, and different things of that sort, we still have those that are trying to map themselves onto a polity that is rejecting them at the same time as they are participating in anti-blackness. Hey, all the Cuban Floridas voters who voted for Trump in Fort Lauderdale, how y'all doing now? Right? These are the things that we have to talk about and talk through. And even as it relates to this particular case right here, homegirl has worked herself up on a hate crime. And let's be very clear. We as Black folks understand that we are at the foundation of this nation in terms of the base and being at the bottom of the totem pole. We understand and get that. It is sometimes the case that those who are not white, yet not Black, do not understand their social positioning in the United States and do not understand that the nation state will consume them and only use them as a type of fossil fuel or a type of collateralization to animate and enlarge the nation state. So the hate crime laws are not for and about us. The hate crime is so that the legislative arm of the nation state can expand itself and perform its power to do a thing. And so now old girl here has walked up on a hate crime case, and the nation state is going to consume her body, so to speak, in an effort to prove its authority. Because what she does not understand is that, baby, in hating us, it does not necessarily free you. Actually, what it does is it further enraptures you, because you will never be close to them. You will never be within that vicinity. That is something to think about and through. And this is why we as Black people are tired, because this lesson needs to be learned. Listen, Toni Morrison said that if you can only be tall because someone is on their knees, then you have a serious problem, and that you need to take Black folks out of your problem and work on what you got going on. There are lessons that need to be learned in this moment. And these type of instances make it difficult for us to organize horizontally and end up fighting, and so that we can fight vertically, because certain folks have not stopped and have taken inventory of the fact that, hey, I am understanding myself and what I'm entitled to in this nation as it relates to whiteness, without even giving a mere thought to the fact that it's actually the struggles, the organizing, and the movements of Black people that make my life possible in the United States, even down to the 14th Amendment, down to the Civil Rights Bill, down to the Voting Rights Bill. You got to pay respect where respect is owed, and this ain't it. Come higher. This has been a breakdown. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.